Hello, my friend, and welcome to another episode of Full Rides Again, the podcast where I, Jinx, your host and imaginary friend, answers the burning question of what happens when you release a rider into the wild and he gets the chance to explore the world. So if you've ever been interested in topics such as plot development, world building, character creation, and even character motivation, then this is a podcast for you, so please stay tuned. And on this week's exciting episode, I'm going to answer the burning question of what happens when you release a rider into the wild and he gets the chance to explore the world of ski resorts. What better way to do that than start off with a couple scenarios? Enjoy. So the first scenario is this. Imagine you're an individual who decided you wanted to go explore the outside world. You know it's winter and it's cold out, but that's not stopped you before, and you really don't want to be cooped up in your house. So you decide to grab your snowshoes and you drive up to the mountain. You find a parking spot and you strap on your snowshoes and you start walking. It's quite a fun trip. Eventually you get to a point where there's a lot of little cliffs and stuff above you and your trail is narrow. But as you're walking along one of these trails, you look up and something soars above you. You don't know what it is. It's moving too quickly for you to see, but it's a weird object. And you don't think too much of it and you continue going for a while and suddenly another thing jumps over you. And it's becoming more and more frequent as you walk along. You just wonder, what is it that is flying above my head as I'm walking along this narrow snow trail? What happens next? If that scenario is not quite up to your standard, how about this one instead? Imagine you're an individual who really likes to snowboard and you really needed a break. So you decide to take a weekend trip up to one of the closer ski resorts near you. And you spend all day there hitting the different mountain paths and trails and having fun. And the day comes to an end and you're just really tired now. So you decide to sit at the base of the mountain at the little dining area and enjoy some coffee and alcohol and just wind down for the day. And as the waiter is bringing you your drink, you start to hear screams. You don't know why, so you look around as these screams are growing louder and louder and people are pointing up at the mountain. And now as you're realizing this, you are starting to think, it's getting warm outside. You look and stare at the mountain where everyone's pointing and you see it's not just warm, it is warm enough that all the snow on the mountain has instantly melted and you have a cascade of water rushing your way. What happens next? If you're not feeling that scenario, how about this one instead? Imagine you're an individual who really loves the snow and to snowboard. So you've made it a point to travel to all the snow resorts across the world. And for months, you've been planning one specific trip. You are going to go to the mountain you've heard the most about in the world, and you've never been there before. So you save up the money, you plan the vacation, and you book your tickets, and day of the trip comes, you fly out to that ski resort across the world with your stuff, and you're all ready to snowboard, and you get there and you realize you're not allowed to snowboard because that specific resort is holding a competition, and you are not included. What happens next? And if you're not feeling that scenario, I have one last one for you. Hopefully you enjoy it. Imagine you're an individual who has been hiking for days. You don't know where you are, but you've been hiking along a nearly forgotten trail through the mountains. It's warm out, the weather is good, everything is in perfect condition except you're getting tired and you're running out of supplies and you're starting to think to yourself, what's going to happen when all my water is gone? And you're getting nervous because you don't have cell service or anything. So you start hiking further along the way and you start to hear noise off in the distance. And you start recognizing that noise as people. And you're like, yes, I can replenish my supplies because hope is along the way. And you start following the noise and you get closer and closer and closer. And you start to see a village off in the distance. And the closer you get to it, you realize it's not really a village. It's actually a whole bunch of pop-up tents and awnings and things like this. But you do see people just celebrating and they're happy and running around jolly and there's music playing and you get closer and closer and closer. And now you're close enough that you're part of the festivities, but you don't know what's going on. All you know is you hiked a random mountain trail for days and now you're in some kind of weird tent city full of people in the middle of nowhere. What happens next? All right, that should be enough with the scenarios for now. Let's get to explaining them. So I can assume most people realize that a ski resort would have snow. But at the same time, a ski resort doesn't always have snow. For example, the ones near me, there isn't snow there during the summer months when it's warm out. Those ski resorts usually are dirt. How do I know this? Because I've fallen down one of those mountains during the summer months and it hurt. Snow would have at least cushioned my fall. The dirt did not, nor did the plants. But that's a little off topics. Let's go to the scenario. In that scenario, I had a person hiking along a trail to discover a random festival in the middle of nowhere. Inspiration for that came from the fact that the ski resorts around me usually put on a festival during the summer and warmer months of the year. When there's no snow out, ski resorts need to figure out something to do during the warmer months. Otherwise, they're not going to earn any money during most of the year because there's no snow out. So they figured they could put on festivals. And one of the common festivals around me is Oktoberfest, which is kind of the influence for that fourth scenario. A whole bunch of people drinking at beer tents, live music coming up for the festivities. So imagine an individual who was just hiking along. They didn't know there was anything there, and they just kind of stumbled upon Oktoberfest. I've been to it a couple times, and it's fun. And each resort is different in how they do it because each resort is set up differently. But it's not limited there. My ski resorts also do movies throughout the warmer months. Every month or every week, they'll choose a new movie, and they will throw on a projector against either inflatable screen or in their little amphitheater area if they have one, something, and people will come to the ski resort to watch a movie outside with everyone else because it's a unique thing they can do, and it honestly doesn't take much from the ski resort to do. All they have to do is open it up. So it's kind of nice that the ski resorts do that, and it plays a lot with options. It doesn't have to be an October festival for it. It can be some summer festival, or it could be a craft fair or something. The ski resort is trying to find something to do during the warmer months because they want money. And they have a whole bunch of property that's not used if they don't do it. But that's enough for that scenario. All the other three scenarios have a common theme with them, though. And it is what you do expect from a ski resort. Snow. Starting with the first scenario, the individual who was snowshoeing. I like to snowshoe, and it's very common for me to go choose a parking lot near a ski resort and strap on my snowshoes and just start hiking, walking on snow, going and seeing nature, enjoying the quiet solitude, maybe seeing an animal, a bear off in the distance, or a moose or something. And it's fun. And depending on what route you're taking, you don't know what's there or around you. Some of the areas you snowshoe are flat and open ground, so you can see everything around you, but at the same time, mountains aren't all flat. There are cliffs and there are narrow spots, so if you're snowshoeing through some of those, it's not unheard of to walk along a narrow path where there is snow towering above you on one side and a cliff descending next to you on the other side. And I kind of played around with this scenario because this part hasn't happened to me, but I can imagine if someone is walking along one of those narrow trails, it doesn't mean people around them are not snowboarding or skiing. You just don't necessarily know they're there. The skier or the snowboarder doesn't know who's always in their path, especially if there's a random gap or a random cliff in front of them. So what if a person is walking along the narrow trail that has a pile of snow next to it and a drop off on the other? What if they're walking there and a snowboarder is coming down the exact same point? They're like, oh, look, here's a amazing cliff that I can go and do a backflip off of and then drop down. From the snowboarder's point of view, they probably wouldn't see the snowshoer, but the snowshoer, they would probably see the snowboarder. Whether they see them directly or they catch a shadow flying over them and they're like, what was that? Or they can be sitting there and suddenly snow is raining down on them because the snowboarder dislodged it. There's a whole bunch of possibilities with that, but in the story, or in the scenario I posed, it's not necessarily a snowboarder because your stories don't have to involve real life things. You can bring in the fanciful or the scientific and the sci-fi and everything like that and make something else there. So that's kind of a basic scenario, though, based on a random activity going on. But there's other activities that go on, too. Snowshoeing is very popular, but you can get hunting, or you can get skiing, or you can get sledding, or you can get a snowball fight. Activities out there, just because it says ski resort doesn't mean the activities are limited to skiing. There are so many other things there. People don't always want to ski. Sometimes they're taking a break. Sometimes they're snowboarding. Sometimes they're doing a biathlon. Sometimes they're cross-country skiing. There are so many different options that people can do at a ski resort, whether there is snow or no snow. For example, that last scenario I mentioned, there was no snow, but there were so many opportunities for people to do stuff. And then first scenario, there is snow, and there's so many opportunities for people to do stuff. But then there's that second scenario, the one where there was snow, and then suddenly no snow. And I will be the first to admit that this has never happened to me, but it's a unique idea. Frequently you hear about avalanches on a mountain, and a snowboarder having to flee from a avalanche that's chasing them. It's common in pop culture, it's common in movies and things like that. There's snow, mountain, and everyone expects an avalanche. But what if it wasn't an avalanche? What if it's a flood? What if the temperature rose so drastically while you're on that mountain that all the snow melted, but it wasn't high enough heat that it just evaporated? It just turned to water instead. That water has to go somewhere. And if it melted that fast, that water is coming down, and it's going to cascade. It's going to ruin things. It's going to tear trees out. It's going to destroy buildings. But if people are on the mountain when that happens, where do they go? Are they going to be swept away in the wave? Are they going to be safe? Are they going to be able to find a way to run away? What about the people who are actually snowboarding when it melted? Are they still snowboarding? Did they drop down? Or now are they somehow surfing and they're riding the wave down a mountain, scared out of their mind because it's not something they were ever prepared for, but it's a possibility. That scenario and that story can go so many different ways, and it can make a unique idea no matter how you do it, because you gave a what if to a very common area. I like the idea. I don't plan on using the idea, but I like it. But it also plays from a little bit of reality too. The snow does melt. At least at the resorts near me, the snow melts after winter. Not right away. It's gradual. We like snow on our mountains because we need water in our reservoirs. So the snow melts and it fills up the reservoirs, and we will have water throughout summer, and we won't be in a drought. We'll be able to water our plants and everything like that because we have high water. But if there's no snow, we don't have water throughout summer. If there is snow, we want enough snow that it fills the reservoir. But also, if the snow melts too quickly, things flood because the ground is not used to absorbing that much water anymore. So if it's not used to it, floods happen. So the scenario, yes, it's very unrealistic, but it's also based in reality from a lot of different aspects. Snow on mountain. People go play on the snow. Snow has to melt. And that snow, when it melts, it goes down the mountain. But if you just speed up the time frame, all that creates is a disaster. So, fun idea. Then the final scenario, that third one, where the individual traveled across the world to go ski a mountain, but there's a contest going on, so they could not ski. Out of everyone, this might be the most basic scenario I gave. But it is very common because it's kind of relevant to like the Olympics going on. In my area, the Olympics have been held here before. And when it was the Winter Olympics, they would come out and they would ski and do all their snow sports in our ski resorts. So people couldn't use them because the Olympics were going on, because there were contests and competitions going on that people just didn't know about, or that people just watched and competed in. And I made the scenario a little bit unrealistic in the aspect of person didn't know the event was going on. Realistically, if someone is that into snowboarding, they would know to do the research of what is going on at the ski resort they're going to. They wouldn't just randomly show up after planning a trip for 6 months to go ski somewhere across the world and not know what was going on. They would do the research. But if someone didn't, or if it was a very last minute contest going on, what happens if they get there? Do they not ski at all? Do they not snowboard? Do they try to join the contest and now they're part of the competition? Or do they just find another resort nearby because there's enough of them in certain areas that they can go ski somewhere else? Or do they still decide to ski that mountain and they get kicked out and get in trouble? There's lots of possibilities there just based on showing up when a contest was going on. Really, in that scenario, I told you it's the most basic one, but I still threw a conflict into a routine item. So I think that covers the stories behind the scenarios. So let's move on to the next segment. As the name of the episode implies, this is a world building episode, and I don't want to talk plots all day long. So let's talk about the world building aspect and how a writer can use a ski resort for world building. When it comes to a ski resort, there are a lot of things you can do with it. So it makes it really easy for world building. If you have a mountain town, or if you have a mountain near in your world at all, you might as well include a ski resort if possible. Not always possible. Some places are too hot and they don't get enough snow at all. Or you have a volcano and it erupts and there's no snow. If you do have a mountain town, why not throw a ski resort nearby for something? It gives your characters a place to go. It gives background ideas for your story. It gives locations that things can happen. In summer months, maybe your character needs to go to the mountains to explore, and now they really just need to go to a festival for something, to gather something, or meet up with friends and just start off at a festival, or they're trying to save up to get a booth at a festival. So when it comes to world building, a lot of world building is making sure you create a realistic area, or you create an area that just helps the story. It doesn't need to change the plot, it just needs to have influence on the story. With my ski resorts, I tend to write stories that take place in mountain towns because I'm used to mountains. I live on mountains. I've lived near mountains most of my life. So I know mountains, and I know everything that can be included with mountains. I know if I'm in winter that there will be snow on my mountains. Not necessarily a lot of snow, but some snow. I know during summer, my ski resorts in the mountains will have some kind of festival, usually once a month, and I can expect to be able to do something in the mountains because there's a festival. And if there's not a festival, I go do the other outdoor activities around them, hiking, four-wheeling, something like that in the mountains. So a ski resort itself plays with the environment itself and what goes on in your town. If you have a ski resort nearby, chances are most people in your town are going to have some kind of hobby that involves that ski resort. Whether it's in the winter, they're going to be snowboarders and skiers, and they're going to go buy a season pass to the mountain and go ski down it all winter. Or they're the individual that doesn't like to ski or snowboard, so whenever there's snow out, they stay inside and they constantly complain about the snow, and they're confused why people actually like to ski and they like to snowboard because they don't understand. They're like, why? So adding the ski resort there like that influences how your characters react and how they think and what their hobbies are because it's right there. It is in their face. But at the same time, it also influences them during the summer months. Some people look forward to Oktoberfest there every year because they want to try new beer, or they want to go listen to those live bands, and that is their interest. So they look forward to it all year. It doesn't affect the story, it just kind of affects their personality and what their character development is and their hobbies because the ski resort is nearby and it has festivals. It can also give like drives and goals to people because, say, an individual is a musician and they want to make it big, but they don't really have a lot of talent. So they decide, next year, I'm going to play at Oktoberfest. So they spend the entire year practicing because they have a goal to get good enough to play at Oktoberfest the next year at their little ski resort. So now they have a goal based on a ski resort, and it's completely unrelated to the snow. So again, the ski resort influences them that way. It doesn't influence the plot, it doesn't influence the story, it just kind of influences the character and their motivation or goals. Maybe someone plays at Oktoberfest every year and it's just, hey, are you going to play there again this year? Yeah, I always do. And it's just expected. Hey, I met you last year at Oktoberfest. I'm glad to see you here again this year. Now people annually meet up there and they're like becoming friends because there's just a local meeting area. Or is your ski resort so good because you have good snow? And people do travel from around the world to come ski at your area. It gets a whole bunch of random people there. Can make it so your town is busy and crowded and people may not like it, but it doesn't influence the plot at all to say there are people in town. It can. You can have a murder happen in your town during a busy season, and now every stranger who flew into town is a suspect because we don't know them, and a murder happened. So you can influence the plot that way, or you don't, and it's just background. People are wandering around the streets. They're like, hey, I can't get a table at this fancy restaurant because there are so many people here. Darn, it's the season, and they have to go find somewhere else to eat because they're just used to it being busy. All that is world building. You can also do the world building of what came first. Did the ski resort come first? Or did the town come first? Did the ski resort become so fancy and so popular that individuals decided to build more and more structures around it, and eventually the town grew because of the ski resort? Or was there a town and one influential individual decided to buy the mountain and create a ski resort there, so there was something to do? And that one individual now has struck it rich because they own a mountain and everyone comes to their ski resort while the rest of the town struggles. Or does the one person who buy the mountain pretty much offer jobs to every other person in the town, and that everyone in the ski town works on the mountain somehow? Ski instructor, cook, bartender. Maybe they run the hotel, or they're a bellboy in the hotel or something. Because there is a ski resort, you now have job opportunities for everyone else there. Or is it one of the things where the person who owns the mountain, they rent it out during the other months? So like, hey, I'm going to rent this plaza to you for Oktoberfest. Hey, I'm going to rent this part of the amphitheater to you for your movies in the mountain. Something like that. So your ski resort, by further world building, has created job opportunities for everyone in your town. It's created a history for your town. It's created job opportunities for your town. It's created tourism for your town because people come from all over the world. It is insane, all the world building opportunities that come from just having a ski resort. But it's also insane to realize how much a ski resort just influences things. If you simply ask the question of how does this influence culture, you can figure out world building opportunities. And this can fall to so many other things, not just a ski resort. Say you have a lake, or you have an amphitheater, or you have a concert hall or something. You can ask the question of how does this influence culture? How does this influence those individuals living near the area? Asking that question will help with the world building because it gets you thinking. And these are not all questions you have to answer in your story. I don't expect most stories to delve this deeply into the history of a ski resort. Where does every single person work? If you talk about that, it's going to get boring. But as the writer, you can use that and you can cherry pick what part of that you want for your story. Does this person work at the ski resort? Does this person not work at the ski resort? Does this person want to buy the ski resort? Does this person want to flee the town every winter because they fear the influx of people coming in? Things like that. Your ski resort influences the story. And I hope you see that. And I hope you think next time you go to a ski resort, how could I include this into my writing? Because obviously I always think about it. It's getting to that point of the episode, my friend, where I'm going to have to start calling it a day. But before I do, I have a writing prompt for you. Write a story about an individual who got lost while they were snowboarding one day, and instead of ending up back at the bottom of their mountain, they ended up in a ravine. Now, I don't care the genre. It could be horror, it could be fantasy, it could be romance, it could be action. And I don't care the format. It could be a song, it could be poetry, flash fiction, or even a journal entry. As always, all I really care about is you have fun with it and make the most out of the prompt. But now it really is time for me to call it a day and let you go, my friend. If you enjoyed the content of this week's episode, please give me a follow. And if you want any more content from the Jinks'd world, visit my website at jinksdworld.com. That is JINKSDWORLD.com. Till next time, enjoy your writing.